Thank you. So the topic of my today's presentation is failure is not the end. And when talking about failures and epic fails in your life, well, I certainly have a story to tell you. And this story begins in 2010, the time I finished school and was about to begin getting my software engineer degree. At the time, I was believed that it was the necessary course of life for me, a prestigious career, and so on. But looking back, I understand that I didn't really have any motivation to pursue this field and probably moved to it just by inertia, because I studied math and physics in school, and it was a logical development for me. And well, I passed all my exams with decent results and got admitted to university. Then I started studying, but I didn't expect to face such challenges because I thought that, well, university life couldn't be so different from school life. I couldn't be wrong more, and it was quite different atmosphere. And in my first ever college exams, I got 2 C's and a B. And actually, one of the teachers told me that he told me, I thought you have potential, but it turns out I was wrong. Quite a motivational speech, I know. And so from that time, my passion for studies quickly diminished. And so probably some of you recognize this symbol, and I put a lot of time to video games, trying to distract myself from studies, because I didn't have any passion for it, I didn't have any motivation, and quickly my academic life went downhill. I was almost expelled, but my mother helped me. She organized an extra made-up exam for me to pass to the next year. But shortly after, I failed nevertheless and got expelled. My mother actually helped me again and organized for me to be transferred to another university for me to keep my deferment from military service. But there I wanted to study foreign languages, but she pursued me that I couldn't make any money in this field, so I should just continue studying IT. Well, it turned out I failed again and was expelled, yes. So I didn't know what to do with my life. We barely spoke with my mother during, well, month actually. And at the time, I finally realized that I need to do something with my life. It couldn't continue like that. So I started searching for a job and got a job at a local pizzeria, part of a Dodo Pizza chain. Some of you probably know it. And there I worked for half a year, but then eventually I got drafted and was to serve in the army. And I remember the moment when I was sitting in the bus about to depart to the railroad station and from there to travel to the military base. I looked at a guy across me and I understood that I was just like him. I was a regular person, I was a regular human, I was mortal, vulnerable, and I was no special character from a book or video game. And so I had to face the consequences for my actions, for my recklessness. And let's fast forward a bit. And 1 year later, I won't bore you to death with events of my military service because I could speak about it for hours on end. But anyways, after returning from the army, I started looking for a job again, and eventually I went back to the pizzeria. There I worked for quite a lot of time, and after a year or so, I became one of the best in my field and one of the best shift managers there. But then I began to think, what's my future look like? What should I do with it? Am I really going to pursue this career and to become full-blown manager of a restaurant or something more? Or are there any other alternatives for me? And I understood that a lot of doors in life were locked for me because I didn't have proper higher education. So I started thinking about it. What can I do with it? What tickles my fancy, so to say? And the answer was English language. So I decided to apply to Smolensk State University and to become interpreter. However, this was quite a difficult task because as almost 6 years passed, my GIGA exams was null and void, And so I had to pass them again and to pass exams in different subjects. That time I passed exams in physics and math, and now I had to take social sciences and English. And so I managed to prepare for them. Well, actually, as many students, I guess, I set a plan to do it in advance, 3 months or so, and it was like 3 days in reality, but nevertheless, I got quite decent results and got admitted. And but then, well, I failed again. At the time, I not only studied, but I also worked, and I had to work at night. So I went to a pizzeria at midnight, left it at about 8 a.m., go to my classes, and then went home. So it was quite taxing. And then I got a brilliant idea to include gym workouts in my daily routine. And so, yes, it was the outcome. Surprisingly, I couldn't handle it, and every person had their limits, and I had to face mine. So I started skipping classes because I couldn't handle all the workload, and I didn't want to go to the university unprepared because I was afraid to be shamed for not doing all the work. I didn't want to repeat the mistakes that I did first time when I was studying IT. And I believe that I could do all the backlog of my tasks during my days off. Well, naturally, it didn't go as planned, so to say, and I failed again. Eventually, I had to choose between my work and my studies, and that time I chose my work. I believe that I was so crucial, so necessary for my team that they just couldn't live without me, couldn't handle it, and that I should sacrifice my studies for it. Well, now I see that it was a faulty decision, but as I say, hindsight is 2020. So after that, there were a couple of years of quite laborious work. I got a proposition to travel to another city to work as an assistant of pizzeria manager, but this proposition was a little bit misleading, and I had to work both as an administrative, do administrative tasks, and also work as a shift manager. So the pinnacle of that experience was the 28-day streak of work days. During the time, my life was just like sleep, eat, work, repeat. And so it almost drove me to the brink of insanity, but I survived it, managed to escape, so to say, and return back to Smolensk. So, and at that time, I realized that this way of, so to say, career development was wrong for me. I didn't want this in my life, and my passions led elsewhere. So I once again set my eyes to study English language, and this time with a different approach. And so when once again there was a time when I had to decide and choose between my job and my studies, I chose my studies. And last time we spoke about love, about letting go, and for me it was like a tough breakup because I spent 6 years with this job, devoted a lot of time, effort, and passion to it. And so it was really like letting go of a person you loved. But it was a necessary choice that had to be done. And now, 10 years after my first attempt to get higher education, I'm still here as a student of 4th year of interpreting. And yes, I still have a few challenges before me, but I think I can manage to overcome them. But it was a long and laborious journey. And during it, I learned a few lessons. The first lesson is, well, it's a quote from a character from a game Far Cry 3, and it goes as follows. Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity? Insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting the different results. This is crazy. And I think it's quite important. When you fail, you shouldn't just repeat the same things. You should take different approach. Think about what and how you fail and try not to repeat it. I say try because I think that it is inevitable to repeat our mistakes, as all of us are humans, and as they say, to err is human. And next lesson is to not let grief and regret overcome you. Every now and then it is quite natural to regret your decisions, to contemplate your mistakes, what could I do differently, and so on and so forth. But it is futile because we live in the present and our mistakes are in the past. We can learn from our mistakes, but they should remain there, should remain in the past, and we should move forward. And the next lesson is it's not about your failure, as it's about what you make of it and whether you manage to get up and continue on your way. It reminds me actually of babies in a way, because we as adults have a lot of fears, a lot of social constructs, consciousness, and sometimes it stops us from doing things. Because think of a baby. It doesn't have any consciousness, doesn't have any fears, and for example, when a baby is learning to walk, when it falls, it just gets up. It doesn't think, oh, I'm a failure, I can't do it, everyone will laugh at me, and so on and so forth. So in this way, I think that sometimes we should be more like babies and less like adults. And this is important about failures. Failures are inevitable. All of us are destined to make them on a different scale, but it is important to not them drag you down, to continue forward, to push it, and because through epic failures leads the way to epic achievements. Thank you for your attention.